What up, 99% male audience members? It's your boy, Cringe Tool, coming back to you with the supreme dating advice on how to get any woman ever. Step 1. Base your identity on politics that specifically resent everything that treats women like people. If she has any interest of her own and wants you to listen to them, just be annoyed with it. Be annoyed about it and talk shit all the time. Step 2, take no personal accountability, because every woman wants to wake up next to a man who blames all of their personal failings on other women. And if any woman tells you that she doesn't want a guy who thinks that she's incapable of operating an automobile, she's lying to you. Step 3, assume that women are lying all the time and men are victims. Every woman wants to hear men bitch about how they don't have to bleed out of their dicks once a month.
Step 4, kill yourself.
Step 5, have a stick up your ass about not only women, but also other races of people and even flamboyant men, because you never know when it's just a bisexual who's probably more attractive than you in a way, because emo women do not want to fuck Republican men. Step 6, if she says that she's anything other than heterosexual, brainwash her into believing that that doesn't exist and she can only be a heterosexual. Anything else is a demonic perversion of her psychology, and it's up to you,
The big, strong, responsible man,
to fix that. Step 7, roll your eyes every time she wants to show you somebody who she's subscribed to on YouTube.
Say, oh my god, this is so boring, when are we gonna watch Joe Rogan again?
Step 8, when she inevitably leaves your ass for being a vindictive misogynist, low-key support fascist ideologies and pretend to be a libertarian so you can make confused men all over the world think that they're not actually supporting fascist ideologies by calling themselves a rebellious name, even though you support all of these fucked up tendencies and policies based on either anecdotal evidence or one fringe case that you could find on the internet and apply to an entire demographic of people. Step 9, become a cringe public figure that's doomed to go the rest of his life pretty sure that whoever he gets with, they're going to cheat on him, because you're just the kind of guy that she does that to.
because you're a dick.
You go to the RNC, and what do you typically see? The dudes are all tall, chiseled, rugged, the women are all slim and busty and attractive. You go to the DNC, and what do you see? The guys are all short, frumpy, overweight, and unattractive, and the women are overweight as well. And I was reading something about why that is, and the general idea that I've come up with, because I was reading something about the trend being true. Generally, the Republicans have a skew slightly towards more attractive, and whether or not it's true because of one study is not the point. I will say, anecdotally, I've witnessed this, and so my conclusion is it's really simple actually. If you're a very, tall, deep-voiced, attractive man, you're gonna get through life easier than a short, weak, out-of-shape man. And you are going to then think, if I could do it on my own, everyone else can too. Or at least you'll be like, I want to be left alone and succeed on my own because I've done better on my own. You take these other people who are unattractive and out of shape and they struggle, so they band together and form collectives and then vote for collectivism. Because life isn't easy,
He says, I'm just basing it on anecdotal evidence, but he doesn't give us any of that anecdotal evidence. He says that people at the RNC are chiseled and ripped.
Chiseled centurions,
That was a quick rundown on the kind of guy that we are dealing with today. For anybody who's watching because they personally know me, or I somehow advertise myself to a less political demographic, this is Tim Pool. He was one of the dudes who interviewed Kanye early into his anti-Semitic shit. A guy whose set Kanye walked off of 20 minutes into the interview. Today we're going to go over something that kind of flew under the radar regarding Tim Pool, because when it happened, it was around the same time that Andrew Tate had gotten arrested. It was New Year's. Nobody was thinking at the time, hey, what's Tim Pool doing? But you know what Tim Pool was doing around the New Year's? Mocking a grieving mother, not just a grieving mother, the grieving mother of a trans person. Not just the grieving mother of a trans person, but a Kentucky Democratic senator whose son was a trans person that committed suicide. We're going to go over a video of Tim Pool not only passive-aggressively telling the mother that she is at fault but also moving on to associate her with pedophiles. I know, where's the original content from the transphobes are transphobes? I mean, yes, I know that Dave Smith had just recently gone on air and denied the existence of white supremacy entirely because calling it super duper rare is the same thing as saying that it doesn't exist at all. But one fake libertarian at a time. And yes, I know that Andrew Callahan has like several allegations, and that's probably a topic that you've heard about 5 times by this point. But one mentally unstable and sexually disturbed reporter at a time, okay? I need to finish this fucking video and just push it off the shore, because the more time that goes by, I feel like if it gets too old, then nobody's going to jump down his throat for this. And absolutely a video that is meant for criticizing Tim Pool. Go find him yourself and call him whatever you want. If really, you can call him anything, because if it's a compliment, then you just dissed yourself. I mean, like, yeah, go do whatever you want, but keep this tab open, because I already have I've got over 1K subscribers now. All right, and I need a long video. I need like that extra long video, okay? Because I need the watch time to really get me going, because I need to get the fuck out of Texas. It gets worse by the day. Have you seen any videos regarding Texas and how anti-LGBTQ it is, just generally on a lawmaker to lawmaker basis? Yeah, so all of those videos that you saw about how Texas is extremely fucked up and only getting worse by the day, that's more than just a video that you see. It's more than just content that you consume and don't have to think about. Well, maybe you still don't have to think about it, but other people do. And I need to get the fuck out of here. So, at the very least, if you can't find my Patreon, then, I don't know, keep this one open. Mute me if you want. I don't care. If you really need to do something, then, just let it play. Let it play a little bit, Help me out. And I will, in return, I don't know. What do you want?
A Democratic senator from Kentucky is very angry, and I believe they have a right to be angry. The story is, Kentucky Senator Karen Berg slams rivals for marginalizing my child and exacerbating culture wars after transgender son, 24, took his life. Devastated mom blames vile anti-trans hate that took its toll. The reason why I say this individual, Karen, has a right to be angry is because their child has died. And I think anybody who loses a child has a right to be angry. But I think it's important we discuss who they should be angry with, or who we should be angry with. And it's time to have a very hard discussion about what's going on with transgender youth in this country.
Tim, the fact that you even feel that you have to explain why a grieving mother has a right to be angry, she is angry, she should be angry, and justifiably is angry with transphobic theocrats, nationalist legionnaires, and finicky fanatics who believe in fake religions like Judeo-Christian. Now, I know, transphobic things are only in the movies in your mind, but they do exist, and they do not identify, most of the time, as transphobic people. They pretend to be concerned for the children, but they're actually just transphobic. Theocrats exist as well, but they know that separation of church and state is a core American value, and they love pretending to be patriotic, so they instead talk about God like it's an objective fact, while also pretending to support that value by saying, oh, I don't want you to literally be crucified and murdered because of your religion. However, nationalist legionnaires, because anybody who still supports Donald Trump in 2023 is basically somebody who played New Vegas, saw the Legion, and, just putting people on crosses, enslaving women, going all the way back to the Roman times after a nuclear war, and thought to themselves, yeah, it's based as fuck. And finicky fanatics who believe in fake religions like Judeo-Christian. I do not give a fuck what you show me to show that that's real. It's stupid. Who fetishize logical fallacies on the regular as a career move. She should be angry with all of these things pretending to be people, other lesser-known fringe right-wing extremists who watch your stupid content, bombard the poor thing with who the fuck even knows what kind of death threats. Over what? Because his mother is in a formidable position of power rather than a registered Republican with a delusional fundamentalist and aesthetically rebellious yet verifiably fascist agenda? Aesthetically rebellious because there's nothing rebellious about being a right-winger in any way, shape, or form, but we still need dumbasses like you making the beanie look bad. We can reassure people that are only in this right-wing grift because they're like mad at their ex or something for a little bit, and they're able to be manipulated by shitheads like you, abusing the image of what it means to believe in smaller government because you only want a smaller government for a very short period of time, and then you want to immediately construct something horrible right after that. But, you know, leave that part out. Let's just bitch about the IRS all day or something. Verifiably fascist, because if we go over what fascism actually is, and not immediately associate it with past fascist dictators, but instead with what it means to do fascist things, even in a non-racial format. Not saying you don't. However, people hear fascism and they're like, am I literally speaking German right now? Do I literally have a swastika armband around me right now? I don't think so. No, if anything, you're the fascist because you flagged my Twitter or something, which your audience will not, /can but will not acknowledge as fascist because it's the current year. All that other stuff was a long time ago. It was back in a different movie when reality was like, you know, seen in a black and white grainy film vision or something. I'm not saying my life is a movie, or maybe I am. I'm the protagonist of my story and y'all are just not the protagonist of your story. You're just the side characters to my story. But, you know, that could be me, you know, just saying that my life is a movie. Or maybe I'm saying that all of those things in those other old times are so long ago that those were just on a true story times movie. And the idea that anything could possibly escalate to a violent situation like those times again, that can't happen. That's not that life is either a movie where I'm the star of it, or it's either so much not a movie that everyone is saying that I'm supporting fucked up shit that could get people killed, or in this case already has. I'll just laugh it off and be like, you're just being dramatic. But you are a pedophile.
The first thing I'll say is I'm very libertarian. I'm not completely libertarian. You've heard me argue with libertarians, but I lean more towards the liberal, the traditional liberal, and the libertarian live and let live. If there is an adult human being who wants to live a certain way, ain't nothing to do with me. You live your life. I wish you the best. I hope for your happiness. And I am saddened when anyone loses their life. I'm not even in favor of the death penalty. Like some of the worst people in the world. But there's a whole other discussion there. I'm not going to waste words. I'm going to come right out and say it. I believe this Karen Berg has a right to be angry after losing her child, but I do believe that she is politicizing this and putting the fault on those who actually tried to save her child.
Hey, man, subscribers to Mr. 49 State Landslide. If you haven't clicked out already, well, thanks. I'm sure you're waiting to craft a really good hate comment, okay? But need I remind you that this guy, and I'm guessing you, have been supporting the motherfucker that has been saying since 2018 that drug dealers should get the fucking death penalty, and has only made that a platform to continue running on to get reelected, has not backpedaled on that. In fact, he's backpedaling on abortion before backpedaling on drugs. Which you should backpedal on abortion if you're a dumb fuck pro-lifer, because it's like, where in the Bible does it even say that it's murder? You won't find it, not that it matters. I'm not saying that you gotta just stop supporting Trump. You know, like, you wanna come up with a retort, okay? But don't call yourself a fucking libertarian and then support the guy that wants to put your plug into the electric chair. Fuck that. You are not a libertarian. Libertarians want to end the war on drugs. They do not want to end the war on drugs by murdering the drug dealers. They want non-violent drug offenders to not be in prison. Right, Dave? So why even entertain the idea that these people need to come back into office? If you are a libertarian, do libertarian things. Say libertarian things. Be an actual libertarian. Blaming a Democratic senator whose son has committed suicide because she was an actual mother who loved her kid and deserves to continue having him in her life, instead of being the kind of guy who deserves to never see their kid again if they don't accept their kid for how they want to live, that she is politicizing this? What the fuck is wrong with you? Trying to save him? Who the fuck in the Republican Party is trying to save transgender people? I know that when you see queer people, because you associate that with sex and only sex, you assume that every single thing that they do is because they are queer. The sun comes up and we open up our queer eyelids and we gaily yawn ourselves awake and pour ourselves some cereal for breakfast, and it's like little penis-shaped Cheerios. Milk is like really chunky because it's organic human milk. We go to interview and fill out a job application and we just put in homosexual gay for the first and last name. that our job applications will say, tell us your strengths and tell us your weaknesses. And it'll say some shit like, well, I do gay things. I'm really gay. And also, did you know that I do gay stuff? And my weaknesses are that I don't think I'm gay enough. You'd think we all watch RuPaul, and I've seen RuPaul, okay? And that's how I know that not every single drag event is instinctively a sex event. Like, if you think that drag is exclusively sexual, you don't know shit about anything that the alphabet people do. You only know that Dave Chappelle calls them the alphabet people. Beyond that, I don't know what the fuck your personal problem is that you are plugging in to an entire demographic that has no way of knowing how to fix whatever you're mad about. Just recently learned that Elon Musk is kind of a salty bitch, not just because he's greedy and doesn't want his workers to unionize, but also because his ex-wife Grimes left him for a transgender person. I get it. I get it. Hey, man. In retrospect, getting dumped for a transgender person in my second year of 8th grade was the best thing that ever happened to me. Mainly because I was 14 and all of my fuck-ups I could just get out of the way in my adolescence. Is that what's happening to a lot of these teeny conservative bros that you get dumped for something with a different kind of genetic makeup? I don't know how to help with all of those situations, okay? I don't know how to help with all of those like being jealous of other races of people. I don't know that world. That's a scary world, okay? I don't want to know that kind of person who's that angry and that homicidal over racial shit. That's some run and duck and cover. Like, oh God, Jesus fucking Christ. But if it's for, like, you know, another woman or a trans person, or because, you know, something, insert a sex that you can't, you physically can't compete with because you're lacking parts required. I'm sorry, there's nothing you can do about that, bro. But, like, on the bright side, you really don't have that much reason to feel emasculated. And the fact that you feel even more emasculated by this is ridiculous. You are being ridiculous. I need to make a different video regarding Elon Musk and his insecurity that he definitely has regarding that another time. But there's only so many reasons that you can have for having this much of a problem with people for living their life in a way that is their own fucking business, okay? And it's either because you are hateful and calculated about it, or you're indifferent, but you're paid to say ignorant shit about a group of people that you feel indifferent towards. The latter is actually a bigger problem. Mercenary mentalities that are paid to hate you probably always going to get a bigger paycheck from the right wing who supports capitalism, and therefore will have bigger paychecks because you guys have literally every other billionaire. We have George Soros sometimes. But yeah, no, there's not a fraction of a chance that anyone has at convincing me that even in an alternate universe, so far away, it would have to be, like, dug up by Matthew McConaughey after he, like, flew into that black hole to knock a book off of a shelf a million light years away. And even then, you know, like, Matthew McConaughey, after entering a black hole, is not going to think first thing, I wonder if there's a version of Tim Pool in here that actually has libertarian views. But even in that universe, no, there's not a chance that you can convince me that Tim Pool is a fucking libertarian. And anyone who is continuing to endorse his views and watch The Daily Wire and coincidentally only have things in their YouTube feed fed to them by the algorithm that just so happen to only favor the right wing all the time, 101% of the time. No. Jesus. I mean, if you want to continue pretending to be a libertarian to get laid, actually, no, fuck you, don't, no. I hope if you do that, I really hope if you do that, if you get a girlfriend by doing that, I really hope she fucks someone else. Whatever you have a problem with the most, I hope that's what she fucks, okay? If it's race, I hope a black guy fucks your girlfriend. If it's sex, I hope your girlfriend is gay. If it's things like this, where you're calling trans people groomers, I hope I find your girlfriend one day after I move out of Texas. If anything, who's that blonde lady that was on that episode of Timcast where Kanye was on there? She was fine as fuck.
See, here's the issue. This transgender activist, Karen Berg's transgender son, meaning biological female, was affirmed, had a community and a career, and still was unhappy and still took their own life. Again, I wish this for no one, for no one's child, no person. But we're trying to solve these problems. We want to stop suicides. We want to stop the pain. And that means having a hard discussion. One that many of these, let's just call them predators, will probably try to latch onto in an effort to smear me for even bringing it up. But I will say it again. This Democrat is angry with Republicans, is angry with those who are questioning whether or not people should receive transgender affirming treatments, as they call it. But this individual's biological female child was affirmed, did have a community, but still committed suicide. Ask yourself why that is. Why, after giving this person everything they asked for, it still was not enough. Now, of course, the Democrat senator, this is a state senator, I believe, is saying, no, you didn't accept my transgender son. But people don't accept everybody for a variety of reasons. That's an impossibility. And so here's the issue at play. And then we'll read through the story and we'll talk about what's going on with actual groomers. I'm not talking about in general LGBT people. I'm talking about groomers targeting children and destroying lives.
Tim, you are literally no different by this point than people who you are saying are just rape apologists based on nothing more than the fact that you would complain about feminism. You know that, right? You know that you're literally no different than people who would just blindly assign the label of Nazi onto you for not being left-wing. You know, you remember back in those olden days of 2016, you dumbasses actually thought that everybody was on your side, but really you just happened to have the vote of libertarians. Actual libertarians, by the way. There is nothing libertarian about you, Tim. If you are subscribed to Tim Pool, you are a conservative or worse. There is nothing libertarian about you. I know you want to get laid and identifying as a conservative makes you unfuckable, but if it doesn't make sense to add it to the NAP, if it doesn't make sense to make it a technicality within an NAP, that's the non-aggression principle for anybody who's pretending to be a libertarian but doesn't actually look up anything about libertarianism. Really think that Ron Swanson would fuck with this guy? Did Ron Swanson ever give off any indication to the kind of guy who would see like a guy in a dress and immediately think to himself, seems like a pedophile to me. I don't seem like the libertarian way. People living their life how they please, not in my book.
This is the story of someone who, instead of listening to the voice of reason, many of us decided to just affirm whatever it is their child said, but it didn't do a thing. It's a sad story. Let's read, and we'll break this down. A Kentucky state senator has taken a hit at politicians who used trans issues as a battlefield to fight culture wars after her own transgender son took his own life. Now, this is a biological female that we're talking about. Democrat Karen Berg blamed vile anti-trans hate and the lack of acceptance for her son's suicide. It was an argument she also addressed to the Senate in February, when she warned the world is coming after them, referring to trans people like her son. Berg's son, Henry Berg Brosseau, a passionate LGBT activist, died on Friday after taking his own life at the age of 24. Berg Brosseau was honored by his mother on Tuesday, in which he said a lack of acceptance took a toll on Henry, after politicians tried to exacerbate the culture wars. This is an excuse. I will say it. The mother is at fault. That's a bold thing to say. Because we never want to blame someone. And, whenever someone takes their life or something, we say, it's not your fault. You couldn't have controlled this. No. I'm not playing those games. Okay? I am not trying to be disrespectful or mean to Karen Berg. I feel for her. I respect the anger. This person lost their child. But if we don't confront this, if we don't call out exactly what it is, it will keep happening. And I'll tell you what it is. An individual was suffering an identity crisis. I can understand and respect that people are suffering when they experience this. I can empathize. Me personally, I don't have that. I couldn't imagine the pain, the mental anguish of not feeling like you fit your own body. I do not believe the appropriate answer is to surgically or medically modify an individual's body because they're suffering from some kind of identity crisis. The easiest way to explain it is anorexia is not okay. Someone thinks they're fat, but they're not. Someone has some kind of body dysmorphic disorder and they want to remove their hand. This is a real thing. I do not believe we should affirm any of these things. What we should do is help these people accept their circumstances. Instead, what is happening is that activists have decided what we should do is just tell anyone suffering an identity crisis that we will just agree with you. And then here's the problem. This individual, Henry Berg Brosseau, died after taking his own life. But there's a bunch of tweets that I want to show you. State lawmakers have advanced an onslaught of anti-LGBTQ bills to restrict where and how we can freely and openly be our true selves. This is Michael K. Lavers. But let me show you. So here's photos of the individual in question. Human Rights says, Henry was our beloved colleague and friend and brought light to everyone around him. In his honor, we must come together and speak out against injustice. We must fight for our transgender family. There are no words to describe how much we miss him. One person told a story. I ran into Berg Briseau a few months ago at a party in D.C. I immediately recognized him as someone I've looked up to for years. From across the room, I yelled, "You're from Kentucky," and saw his face light up. I'll miss that smile. We all will. There's a lot of reasons people take their own lives. Often, you can't see it coming. You think everything's okay. My question is simply this. Could it be unrelated to trans issues why this person took their life? Perhaps. But I think it's more likely that this was the issue. Now, it's entirely possible Berg could have owed someone money, suffered heartbreak, or some hardship. Okay. But if the mother wants to make this political and say that it's because of a lack of acceptance, then I will rebut and say, you cannot make the world accept you, period. Everyone will choose to reject or accept someone for any reason. In some parts of the world, in most parts of the world, they're racist. And the color of your skin will determine whether or not they accept or reject you. You can't change that right now. Over time, we can genuinely find people become more accepting in certain respects, but mostly this is a product of the West and the United States. I mean, China is still extremely racist, and they're not giving that up. So I don't think it's fair to say that you can make everyone accept you. The question then becomes, why is it that a person with so many friends, with a career, being featured as a prominent activist, I mean, all of these things should fill someone with fulfillment, should grant them that feeling. It wasn't enough. I'll say it again. I don't know why this individual took their own life. It could be for any reason. But if the mother wants to make it political, then I will say this. You had a child suffering an identity crisis. And instead of saying, let us help you navigate through this, you said, we will just agree with whatever you say, despite the fact that it is you who is suffering from because of this.
What the fuck is wrong with you, dude? What could you possibly know about that implies that these total strangers, these people that know nothing personally about this family, what could you possibly know that implies that after a year, spending all of 2022 lying about queer Americans, saying that they're pedophiles with zero evidence beyond it's a dude in a skirt, pretending that their hysterical opinion is a fact through unearned confidence and the spamming of bad guy words, that these strangers who hate trans people, these total strangers who without question hate trans people, who hate Democratic senators, who therefore have no remorse when saying the most conspiracy-brained vilifications about, a Democratic senator with a transgender kid. A Gen Z transgender kid, in fact, 24 years old. Literally my age, so I do take it a little more personally when a 36-year-old man who blames feminism for why he doesn't have a girlfriend sees a trans person kill himself and immediately think, oh my god, I can't wait to misgender the dead person and call his mother a fucking groomer. What could you possibly know about that implies that these people, these very hateful people, very, very, very hateful, simply because they don't, these things masquerading as human beings who hear about a shooting in Colorado where the shooter is the grandson of a Republican lawmaker. 5 people died, way more people got shot in general. It was a miracle that somebody did something to apprehend this fucking piece of shit. And what did your people do? Your people started talking shit and trying to run a smear job on the veteran who took care of the issue, whose son's boyfriend was shot dead. The veteran who pinned this man to the ground and separated him from his gun. Your people, Tucker Carlson specifically, goes on air and starts talking about how now this guy's a groomer. Now this guy is a faggot. Really? Fucking seriously. These are the people that are trying to save the transgender. How is that? How are you saving anyone? How are you saving anybody by less than 12 hours later getting on your social media and saying this groomer epidemic needs to be stopped? No, this genocidal transphobia epidemic needs to be stopped. You need to shut the fuck up. You're not gonna, but at least, at the very least, you could just identify as what you are. If you hate trans people, just say it. If you're a fucking fascist, just say it. Do you support Tucker Carlson? Do you think Libs of TikTok is doing a good thing and helping the world around you? Congratulations! You're a fascist piece of shit! You're a fascist. That is true. The fact that I call you a piece of shit is simply coming from my chest. And I know that none of that hurts you, because when somebody is doing things that are piece of shit things, and then I call you a piece of shit, you're probably reveling in that. When I call you a fascist, I'm calling you something that implies that less people should listen to you, that less people should vote for the people who you vote for. That you support strict obedience to authority at the expense of personal freedoms, and then call yourself a libertarian because you want to have your cake and eat it too. You want to pretend that you represent order and liberty at the same time, and all of your enemies, well, they're advocates of chaos and tyranny. I'm sorry, what? Good guy, bad guy. I'm good guy and you're bad guy, and I like freedom and I like order and civility, and well, you represent like all of everything that's not that. Except that would also imply that you have like two kinds of enemies. You know, that would mean that there's still some kind of fascist out there. Some kind of right-wing authoritarian autocrat who you would oppose, right? I don't know. If the guy that wants to hold all of our resources really close and build a big wall while the world starts boiling around us, who goes on to say that transgenders are a menace to society, that we need to give drug dealers the death penalty. If this is the guy who, if this guy is not a fascist, then who the fuck is? Kim Jong-un? Like, does that have to, you have to be Kim Jong-un to be a fucking fascist? Seriously, you gotta be fucking Putin? Well, now, we can at the very least agree that Putin is a fascist piece of shit, right? At the very least. How the fuck are any of you trying to save anyone? Okay, if you were trying to save anybody, then when a mass shooting happens, then, I don't know, maybe condemn the shooter of a nightclub shooting. Maybe do not express concern about the things that he was apparently concerned about before he went out and killed a bunch of people. Maybe wait 24 hours, if you can. I know it's hard for you, because you have the same fundamental values as fucking serial killers. Maybe when his grandfather turns out to be a Republican lawmaker. Maybe when his father in general turns out to be some Kentucky Fried redneck who hears about his son committing a mass shooting at a gay nightclub, and his first thought is, oh god, what's he doing at a gay nightclub? Oh, killing a bunch of people. Jesus, I thought he was gay. Oh, thank God, he's just killing gay people. Okay, yeah, maybe when that happens, back off. Maybe just back off. I know it's really hard for you, because you, for some reason, you know, oh yeah, it was because libs of TikTok doxed this location and called it a grooming event before any of this happened, that it would not have happened if not for this bland-looking bitch, whose husband probably left her for another man. None of these people were trying to save this woman's son. You know who was trying to save her son? This kid's mother was trying to save him by not, I don't know, denying gender-affirming care. Like, you don't even know that this person got gender-affirming care before the age of 18. You see a trans person, you immediately jump to predator because you're a genocidal freak with a shitty band who thinks that having a beanie and an electric guitar is gonna make your fascist ideas less dog shit. Beyond the fact that this person was stigmatized to an extent that any Kentucky Fried redneck could be sending who knows what kind of death threats to them from a Tor browser while inhaling out of a broken crack pipe is already one explanation as to, I don't know, why this person might off himself, because it's death threats coming from locations that you cannot track down. So you're given too many of those death threats. Well, you're a famous person's kid, a famous person who is in a specific location that people are going to know about on a regular basis. So fear is already one reason why somebody might panic and off themselves. Heartbreak might be another reason, and that could be related to current events, related to social status, or not at all. Maybe separate events have led to kinds of depression that have nothing to do with their gender identity or sexual orientation. I know the idea that if anybody is living their life in a way that is not exactly like your own, that they must be like ready to jump off of a skyscraper.
Somebody wants to remove their hand. Somebody wants liposuction. Somebody who's anorexic. We intervene. We sit them down. We surround them and say, this cannot go on. Why in this case?
This is naked bad faith. Come on. Like, you can put air quotes on the word treatment as if that suddenly makes it not treatment. You can speak these hyper-religious talking points and try to make them sound secular. That doesn't make them secular. But even then, you know the difference between people that are doing gender reaffirming care, getting a liposuction because you're morbidly obese, having an eating disorder because body dysmorphia. Maybe there's a similarity there. However, weight issues with issues with your self-image in regards to your weight, to your general attractiveness in that regard, that would have been a problem regardless of being trans, okay? And then and how any of this is comparable to wanting to become a fucking amputee. That's what I mean by bad faith. What the fuck?
Do we do something different? So this individual was given as much as they could get. I mean, they can physically change their body with drugs and with surgery, but they will never be a biological male. They will still have less muscle mass. They will still have less muscle collagen. They will still be shorter. And then ultimately, I think what happens is with everyone around you lying to you, how much of that could you really take unless you have a stronger sense of self?
Bruh, you telling me that everybody that's into Lena Kelly is just lying? It's just millions of people saying, it's funny, we're just letting her think that she's hot. No, she's fucking hot! What the fuck are you talking about? This isn't hot. She's not hot. She's not hot. The fuck? You're full of shit. You're full of shit. Jesus fucking Christ. You know what? Some people, somebody just needs to get this dude, like, I don't know. I don't know. Get him on porn. Just supposed to just also assume, I don't know, all white people are ugly because fucking Rocky Dennis is white, you know, like all white men. Oh god, it must be so unfuckable. I mean, have you seen Mitch McConnell? Case closed. Gosh, motherfucker's built like a snapping turtle. It must be fucking every other white guy too.
We hear a lot that trans people are at high risk of suicide. I don't like that. I would like that to stop. I have a friend who died. I don't know if it was suicide or not, who was trans, and it's painful, and it sucks. But perhaps the issue is we should tell these people it's never going to happen. The people around you who are telling you that you're handsome, who are telling you that you look a certain way, they're lying to you. Not every single trans person, mind you, but a lot of them. When a person enters a room, and I'll put it this way, there are people who pass, and that means that, you know, for a large amount of trans people, they're considered lucky, I guess, by other trans people. A trans woman could be walking down the street and someone might be like, I didn't realize that person was biologically male because they pass. They're more effeminate. But there are a lot of trans people. Like that video of the Superman. You remember that? It is a large, I believe around 6 foot tall biological male who looks nothing else, like nothing else but a biological male, getting angry and threatening violence because someone kept saying sir.
And the it's ma'am motherfucker, okay? I feel like I really can say with a good amount of confidence that a lot of that might have been done to get away from certain other charges that were pre-existing. Bitch was blowing clouds with a kid around and verbally divulging details as to everything that was going wrong with that. There are 8 billion people on the planet Earth, okay? Whatever demographic you think doesn't have a single, I hate to say bad egg, but a single piece of shit who's willing to take advantage of ongoing controversies that people are too nervous to pick up and talk about, then there's no demographic that has nobody fucked up in it, okay? There are Jessica Yanivs out there, and they are the easiest to spot. They're so easy to spot. You know how to spot them? They transition and they put no effort into it. They put no effort into it at all. They do it for a utilitarian purpose. They don't do it for any actual desire. They don't do it to actually pursue something that they've wanted to be all their life, that they felt they wanted for like most of their life and might not have known, okay? But no, there's not so many of those people that you could just blindly assume every time you see a trans person that that's another groomer, that's another pedo, that's another sexual demon. The fact that you immediately associate it all with sex, that's a you thing. That's where your mind immediately goes. I don't know if you know this, but people have other moods, other mentalities, other mindsets besides fucking. You know that, right? You know that identifying as something else when it comes to gender and sex, that already shows that when you think of women, the only thing you think of women for is their sexual value. Like, that's the only reason they have for expressing their femininity.
Because they didn't understand. They don't know what's going on. There's a viral video from Starbucks of a transgender female that is a female that is transgender, has facial hair, but biologically female.
Really, nigga?
Saying that their work is too hard, there's too many customers, and that they were being misgendered. Even with facial hair, the average person knows you are not male.
No. If you have a beard, you made it. Got a fucking beard. Nope. No. Not taking. Not arguing with this. Gonna drop that right there. You worked for the beard. It's like being a guy and then working for the tits. Or the ability to stop facial hair from growing out of your face. Got the hormones in, you're good. Anyway, definitely not a conservative and not an authoritarian. You know, you just have a problem with people doing things that have to do with them minding their own business and has nothing to do with you, and you want to stop that. In fact, no. Somebody's got a fucking beard growing out of their goddamn face? No. You see somebody with a beard growing out of your face and you go out of your way to say, ma'am, she, and her, then, yeah, you're making a scene by continuing to deal with the problem. I don't think I don't think it's worth it. It's a Starbucks employee. Fuck him. But, like, if somebody wanted to bitch about it, okay. Somebody saw someone with a beard and went like, nah, that's still a woman. Watch this, I'm gonna go call him she. You cannot make people accept you, right? But if somebody just sees a customer and they happen to be black and then just call them the N-word, there's some guy that's dressing a little flamboyantly, calls them a faggot, sure, you can't make people respect you, you can't make people accept you, and personally, I wouldn't want to put my face at risk over words, okay? However, if that happened to someone else in the shop, and they were to, I don't know, turn around and be like, bitch, what? And pour the fucking hot coffee all over them, I wouldn't give a shit. I would think, hey, that's actually kind of funny. That would be funny.
And this is the challenge, I think. Do you think these people, do you think that they don't know they're being lied to? Many of them do. They know that when they look in the mirror, they are not in the body that they want, even after all of this. Some people can make it, some people don't. And so I think the challenge is, we live in a society where everyone comes up to you and they say nice things to you, but you know it's insincere, or at the very least you feel it is. I think the solution to this issue is not to blame Republicans or anyone else, but to look within yourself as to how this came to be that your child went through this. I think that there are many people who are genuinely dysphoric. Gender dysphoria is real, and they're suffering because of it. But I also think for many of these people, it's social pressure. And that's why we see so many young girls identifying as trans, because they're being told that the masculine traits in society are the ones you want. You want to be the hunter. You want to be the hero. You want to be the CEO. You don't want to be the caregiver. You don't want to be the nurse. You want to be the doctor. The nurse. Nurse is lowly. You don't want to be the mother. You want to be the breadwinner. And so it's not about the physical body. It's about social acceptance. And I think because of that, many young women are suffering.
It's a social construct. It's a social construct, Tim. Okay. So maybe some women just want those jobs to be the hunter, the doctor, or the nurse because women are just as capable of doing these jobs. And if anything, a woman's brain chemistry is 40% higher than that of a man's when she's not on her period. That's kind of why they lose their shit a lot of the time. It's the same reason why there are plenty of subjects, plenty of fields of emotional understanding, of psychological help that they know a lot more about than men, or at least they learn quicker. Yeah. Fucking being framed as something that would make somebody think, oh, well, the only way to deal with that is probably death and violence. And if we're talking about people that are willing to take the law into their own hands, horrible dismemberment, murdered and having our demise, I don't know, sold off for cryptocurrency off of a Tor browser. Scary shit that scary ass fucking people, like people that would become social outcasts, develop really fucked up tendencies and ideas, and in all of this isolation, start bonding with other fucked up people around the world in a similar issues that also have weird malicious desires that could have formed out of that. Yeah. Being a social outcast in some parts of the world, okay, might land people left of the spectrum, but really, it usually depends on what is the thing that is frowned upon for reasons of, oh, that sounds like a monstrous thing. That sounds like a violent, crazy, hateful group of people. You tell me, a fucking Nazi or a trans person? Because you know that it took a while for the Nazis to make anti-Semitism into their thing, right? When they were just local extremists who were recruiting people on the streets, the first thing that they did was a book burning on trans and queer studies. First thing that they did in Germany. Because that was the smallest marginalized group in Germany at the time.
I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, just my personal thoughts. Ultimately, I want to help people, but let's read more about what's going on. We have this from NYC council member Eric Botcher. He said, tonight, the drag story hour protesters came to my apartment building and gained entry. My super called the cops and 2 of them were arrested for trespassing. This is pure hate, unmasked. If they think this is going to intimidate us, they're mistaken. Our resolve is strengthened. They're writing things like, okay, groomer on the sidewalk. Benjamin Ryan. He is the science reporter for the New York Times, NBC News, Guardian. He says, I waste a lot of energy on Twitter recently trying to explain to people that the term groomer has been hijacked as an anti-LGBTQ slur this year. No one wanted to listen. They just wanted to call me a groomer. Benjamin's lying. And I can prove to you that he's lying because James Lindsay brought the receipts. The reason why people are calling him a groomer is because Marxists lie. Because these people have consistently lied. They lied about Jussie Smollett. They lied about the Covington kids. They lied about Kyle Rittenhouse. They lied about Donald Trump and Russiagate. They lied about the pull rope at the NASCAR race. Yeah, they lied about everything, basically.
Okay, let's unpack that there, buddy. It has. It is why you said groomers need to be stopped less than 12 hours after the Club Q shooting. It is why you did that. So now you are not simply playing dumb. You're not simply being ignorant. You are intentionally playing dumb. You are lying in bad faith. But okay, let's unpack this, you pretentious little slut. Oh, the reason why is because they're just lying. They're just lying because I said that they're lying. If they say that there's anything going on this year that implies that we're using groomer as a way to single out queer and trans people, well, doesn't matter what they show you. They're just lying because they just lie. Because that's the corner that y'all are getting backed into. Because fascists weaponize hate slurs. They weaponize accusations of crimes which will make apolitical people butt out of the conversation out of fear of being called the same thing. So your anecdotal evidence is true because you're right, because right, good, left, bad. So you're no different than the people you've complained about since 2016, who are calling you Nazis with allegedly no evidence, but by this point, I'm sure I was just missing something at the time, right? Let's unpack that shit. Jesus Christ. So Jussie Smollett, I believe, was actually, in the long run, a big reason as to why Donald Trump lost in 2020. Mr. 49 state landslide. He lost in 2020 because I think by the time that shit went down, I think that was actually a good social test. Had everyone on the left just blindly believed Jussie Smollett in droves, to the extent that if you didn't, you would be called a racist. That if you ever brought up his name, people would just say, shut up, no, you don't know what you're talking about, then no. People would not have felt so motivated to go vote for somebody who they were not enthusiastic to vote for. Because it was somebody who was superficially put in when Bernie Sanders was the more popular primary candidate, but they just had everyone drop out when it seemed like one liberal won South Carolina, and the only way that it could work is with every other liberal dropping out. Got so motivated to go vote against Donald Trump that year anyway. People who voted for him in 2016. I'm your guy. I'm sorry, and you're welcome. People would not feel this motivation had that attitude that existed 4 years prior was still prevalent. But really, I think people started to realize by the time Epstein was suicided that there's an ongoing mentality of the right saying the whole system's corrupt, but coincidentally, only this one side of the system, and in this big, powerful conglomerate of people on the right wing, well, they're just warriors of God, you know. And if you don't believe me, then it's probably because you're a pedophile. Saying this as if a queer nightclub had not been shot up months ago in October. It was October, right? In October. Or was it November? In November. 2 months ago? 3 months ago? Not very long at all. Let us not forget that within less than 24 hours of the Pulse Club Q nightclub shooting. I'm sorry, it's hard to keep track of all the nightclubs to get shot up by some monotheistic dickweed who probably was gay himself. Side note, it's a little too late to come out after you've butchered a dozen people. But within less than 24 hours, Libs of TikTok and Matt Walsh doxed 2 more events within the same city. Matt Walsh went on to say that these people are fucking degenerate monsters, scum. I need to pull up that tweet. Tucker Carlson runs a smear job on the veteran who actually saved lives and actually knows what it's like to save a life. For some reason, Tucker thought that, oh yeah, you know what, we should definitely try to vilify this veteran who has apprehended the grandson of this Republican lawmaker who went out doing what I guess you would call a good deed. And while he's doing this, he's using talking points that were fed to him by prominent Nazi cum dumpster, Foot and Mouth, who herself has within 12 hours after witnessing 5 innocent non-violent human beings being declared dead at depressingly young ages as a result of false groomer allegations, less than 12 hours later proceeded to segue the narrative from a gay groomer / trans pedo panic to a good old-fashioned satanic panic, and later bragged about feeding talking points to Tucker Carlson. This is all around the same time frame that Joe Rogan is telling millions of people worldwide that kids in schools are publicly shitting in litter boxes, courtesy of Libs of TikTok. Dave Smith and Rob Bernstein see this information, and instead of looking for liberals and seeing what they are saying, they're just telling all of their fans, oh, this is all of this, what Libs of TikTok is doing, this is what liberals are saying to people. What this parody account is telling their fans, this is what they're saying. Segues into talking about the IRS and a bunch of other shit that reminds wallet voters about why they vote with their wallet. And also talking about liberals like the term liberal is just synonymous with what he would call the immoral left. And what are you doing within this time frame? Well, you're contributing by calling all of the people that are freaking out about the mass shooting and the dead people that are dead because of you. You see that this is happening, and you're like, oh man, this pedo menace has to stop. This groomer menace has to be taken care of. Well, if you're so fucking concerned about groomers, when was the last time that I ever heard anything from any of you about heterosexual groomers, about heterosexual pedophiles, about older men doing bad things to little girls? When was the last time I've heard any right-wing pundit talking about that? Trick question. You know the answer. You don't fucking talk about this. You know why you don't talk about this? Because you are making sure that your finger and everybody else's finger is pointed somewhere besides at you. If you're not pointing your finger at yourself, then it has to be pointing at somebody else. And maybe not you specifically, because I don't even think that, I mean, even if you were a creep like that, Tim, I don't even think that you would do well in that market. You wouldn't do well in any market, really. You'd have to, you probably got to go to buy from Andrew Tate or something.
Now he's coming out and saying they're trying to call all LGBTQ people groomers. No, we're calling people targeting children groomers. Why are you lying?
Oh, well, I'll stop talking about, trans people being groomers when they stop being groomers. AKA stop being trans people, because that's the reason why you're calling them groomers. LOLOL, very funny. Haha, genocidal rhetoric, guys. Haha, so funny, guys. Let's all have a big laugh about how wokeness is definitely a bigger problem right now, and definitely a bigger threat than, evangelical Christians calling for violence on the smallest percentage, on the smallest marginalized group within the country, and acting like they're not going to move on to the next thing.
James Lindsay points it out. He says, what alternative term do you suggest for this description of drag queen story hour in a major education curriculum? Inquiring minds want to know. In it, they actually state what they are doing with Drag Queen Story Hour is creating family friendly in the sense that it's accessible and inviting to families, but it is less sanitizing force than it is a preparatory introduction to alternate modes of kinship. They outright say they are grooming.
Oh my God. You're literally that's a weird, vague connection. You're fucking dog whistling. You are grasping at straws. What the fuck? Alternate forms of kinship. Case closed. I seriously just need to fucking,
alternate modes of kinship. And they end off by saying, we're leaving a trail of glitter that won't ever come out of the carpet. They are outright saying, family friendly just means accessible and inviting to families with children to prepare them for alternate modes of kinship. Yeah, we call that grooming. He responds, teaching children that gay people exist and gay families exist is not a form of grooming. Grooming is the manipulation of children to prepare them to be sexually abused. Well, that's strange. It quite literally says they are preparing them for alternate modes of kinship. Yeah, to be abused, right? See, why did he take this story, which is about adult men simulating sodomy in front of children, and then come out and claim, we're just teaching people that gay people exist? Because they're lying to you. Because Benjamin Ryan is, in my opinion, I can only assume, he is running cover for pedophiles.
That's a stretch. No. You can't just take something that vaguely sounds like it could be suspicious and then draw an absolute from that.
Now, you can ask yourself why that might be. I'm sure the average person, the reason why they're calling him a groomer is because he's protecting them and lying on their behalf to shield them from accountability. Even when James Lindsay says, here's the proof, here's an academic paper saying they're doing it, he goes, no, just teaching kids that gay people exist. But that's not what we're saying. That's not what James Lindsay is saying. We're saying, no, they've explicitly stated they're trying to prepare children for alternate modes of kinship. They are grooming them. Why lie? I don't know. You tell me why a guy would defend pedophiles. You tell me.
Gee, this ongoing violent and inflammatory widespread controversy involving identity, politics, religion, and a large number of people getting murdered by mentally unstable extremists radicalized by fringe ideologues on the deep web and Discord servers seems alarmingly similar to the significantly notable and well-known time in history in which many people died at the hands of quiet and calculated people in small subsections of large hate groups promoted by charismatically cold and callous mascots paid to slowly dog whistle the encouragement of political violence over time in an attempt to become the popular point of view by way of eliminating dissenting voices through the normalization of insane conspiracies made of bad faith targeted toward misanthropic lonely men with aggressive tendencies on the brink of a psychotic break.
Oh my god, come on, dude. You are just being dramatic again. You're not oppressed. You're not in a really significant situation. You're just overplaying yourself, okay? You just want to be a victim, okay? You're acting like a victim, alright? Stop pretending to be oppressed, okay? Now, face the wall, groomer. You're just pretending that everyone else is a fucking Nazi because you want to be in a fucking wartime without being in the fucking wartime, you know? Like, you're taking yourself too seriously, okay? Nothing that bad is happening, alright? You know, obviously if I were a racist Nazi, I would just tell you that, okay? Time to cancel the cancel culture. Gosh, man, being a victim of cancel culture is so hard. All of these fucking oppressors saying, no, stop comparing me to pedophiles, stop harassing me, oh my god, stop sending bomb threats to my house, stop acting like, you know, I'm not a person, oh, stop canceling me. Oh my god, they're canceling me when they say that. Obviously, freedom of speech means me being able to say horrible things that would incite violence on people, and them not being able to defend themselves against that. I mean, if that's not it, then what's the whole point of America in the first place, right? If you get me, guy. Yeah, you get me. That freedom means I get to do what I want, and anybody who acts like they have just as much dignity is oppressing me. Because, obviously, like, the only people that are people with souls are white Christian men. Yeah, I mean, you get it. Yeah, I mean, besides, we're going around spreading God's love, and these pedophile groomers are actually getting in our way. Like, what? Like, why would they even do that? Oh my god. Oh, here comes another line of our oppressors right now. Oh my god, they're gonna start doing their fucking, yes, begging. Oh my god. They're shouting the cries of victims while holding me down. Oh my god. Stop canceling me. Oh my god. I need so much emotional support right now. Oh my god. I'm having such a hard time with this. You know, being an oppressed white Christian man, it's really hard work. Gosh. Yeah, you get me, buddy. As long as I call them pedophiles, it's okay if I kill them. As long as I say groomer, nobody's gonna question until it's too late. As long as I compare anyone to a pedophile and apolitical people to the same thing so they can butt out of the conversation, nobody will be able to stop me from participating in a Texan genocide against trans people. Because, I don't know, I guess conservatives are too deep into their Jesus freak bullshit, and liberals are too deep into denial regarding the idea that the system could ever possibly fail because capitalism will eventually become outdated and powerful people will do anything to make a false narrative to hold on to power and keep people stupid until their stupidity has consequences, which is, but their consequences are definitely not to my own fascist benefit. I mean, how could I possibly be a fascist? Do you see a tiny mustache on my upper lip? Do you see me literally saying that I'm like an actual Nazi Aryan master race? Okay, I'm actually a part of the master religion. All right, there's a difference, bro. Gosh, man, Republicans are such victims, you know, because one time somebody in high school lied. Maybe lied, I don't know. I don't have the ability to self-reflect about me being racist or sexist or something. I just kind of boiled it down to yada yada. And people just believed it. And that was like mildly inconvenient for me. So, I mean, like, obviously it's justified if I, in return, lie about them committing a sexual crime against children, and not only put them at risk of being sent to prison for something that they didn't do, but also being tortured and curb stomped and potentially murdered in prison by the people who suddenly trust the court systems once they're behind bars for some fucking reason, and just fucking like just does something about it, because, you know, now they have a line and a moral compass, and now they need to do something about it. And I mean, obviously there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously I'm just as bad at worst, but at best, which is always the way of looking at it, because obviously, logically, factually, objectively, statistically, facts, my opinions are irrefutably non-debunkable. Time to go take out all of my personal resentment on different demographics of people that I blame for my own problems, and eventually, nothing will be able to stop guys like me.
Yes, you are probably definitely correct about that, and genuinely telling me that because you believe that nothing is wrong, and definitely not a suspiciously malicious and subtly vicious person that is acting in bad faith and telling me a specific type of lie to keep me calm and docile until it's too late. Sure, yeah, you're right. I'm gonna fucking just, I guess I'll just go back to Disney Plus. I haven't seen She-Hulk yet. Oh wow, haha, she breaks the fourth wall like Deadpool, but it's a Mary Sue. I get it. I can definitely embed myself in fictions like extension of Game of Thrones right now, definitely. Things that are subtly are subliminal messages that somehow connect to the real world definitely don't feel disturbingly superficial, as if powerful people are trying to keep me calm and confused at the same time, but like at peace with that confusion when I don't have to be confused at all. That's definitely not something to be concerned about. Whatever we do, I guess we should definitely not investigate the possibility of fascist ideologies reaching other non-white communities, and those non-white communities that get engulfed in fascism eventually start having friendly conversations with the mainstream type of American fascism. And because we haven't assigned a specific name to that kind of fascism yet, and they keep themselves entrenched in ambiguity, then there's nothing we can really call them. We can call them Nazis, but who hasn't been called a Nazi for one reason or another? Bad guy words lose their meaning when both sides employ them without actually thinking about why they are throwing a accusation like that towards their enemy, because that would require them to also observe the good guy words that they assign to themselves and admit that maybe they've built an identity around specific ideologies that do not hold up in the long term, in the long run, that do not hold up long term. Asking specific questions and looking for the answers to those questions, and then taking a pick of which ideologies are still available that support the truth that I find by the end of that line of questioning. Because, gosh, everybody knows the truth is just something that you decide to look for before you actually begin your search. And you just do whatever you need to do to make that be the final answer because you want it to be the final answer. You know, because that way you can feel comfortable with a group identity as you go along. If not a group identity, then a niche individualist ideology that makes you stand out from the rest, which can be helpful if you actually believe it and it consistently applies to what you're doing. If you're not fully on board with the lib left yet, you just know that you like anarchism, so you're still giving the lib right a chance because you think that economically different things can still happen. Fine, you do you. Figure yourself out, okay? That's cool. That's great. Whatever. Right now, our economic differences mean fuck all, okay? We can argue about the economy when literal theocrats aren't lining up outside of our homes to leave us tarred and feathered in the fucking street. When incels are not being told by somebody that's getting blown up by one of the most famous rappers alive that one day they will have the ability to gather up with a collective and start burning the feminist at the stake. Hey, regardless of how you feel about feminism at the moment, I'm sure you got some cool feminist friends. You know, maybe, possibly, if not definitely, let's appeal to the sad boy viewers real quick, maybe even that really hot chick that has the unnaturally colored hair and gothic attire right now that you don't think you could actually score a hookup with, but if you could, that'd be fucking rad. Either way, you know, you fucking, like, possibly some of your views on women are because you feel irked by people that are that vexing and attractive, but regardless, you still care for that enough in a genuine way to not just stand idly by while Nick Fuentes says that men are going to break into people's homes and burn women at the stake. That's what Nick Fuentes and his gripers are just ironically joking about. Surely, hearing things like, hey, all the trans people are on a watch list, it's kind of fucked up. Hey, people that are arguing for bodily autonomy are getting compared to murderers. Hey, they're using one of the most famous rappers alive to say that not only is a murder happening, but like a half genocide is happening to a marginalized race of people, so that way they can build up their army of fascists who don't admit that they're fascists with people who believe in Pan-Africanism and are much more loud about their Pan-Africanism or Black Israelite beliefs, and some actual white nationalist Black people. Those they're accepted by the previous two ideologies, but for some reason they just feel comfortable around the other white people. They're frat boys are frat boys. They're their own race of people.
I want to tell you about the reality of this stuff. Following the story about this individual who took their own life, Colin Wright says, don't listen to gender activists when they tell you we're not performing extreme medical experiments on children. Here's one of Jazz Jennings' surgeons, quote, taking Jazz on as a patient for surgery. We knew it was going to be a one-of-a-kind surgery. We don't have the experience of having said we've done 50 of these. I was just not expecting her to have a complication as severe as what she did have. Jazz Jennings was a little kid. And the family got a TV show and said that their child was trans, and they put the child on hormone blockers. The hormone blockers ultimately prevented the development of physical matter, body parts, as it were. So when Jazz wanted to get surgery to have a pseudo vagina surgically grafted, the doctors were unable to do it. Now I'm going to draw an inference here. Jazz Jennings eventually became morbidly obese and remains morbidly obese, though trying hard to work the weight off. Jazz was supposed to go to, I think, Harvard, and then announced abruptly that she would not. In this article from Women's Health from 2020, Jazz was a bit lighter in terms of weight. Following this story about complications in surgery, Jazz became morbidly obese, then announced she wouldn't be going to school, and family members said she can't be alone right now. I've read the stories about what they call bottom surgery, and they're horrifying.
Minors getting bottom surgery is illegal. No hospital is going to do that. Transitioning does not automatically mean bottom surgery. He knows this. He has been using language of hormones or surgery like throughout this entire video. Oh my god, just fucking keep... Oh my god, stop pausing.
Because they use colon, intestine, some people often say that it smells like feces forever. Yeah, that's horrible. And I wouldn't wish this on anybody, so I couldn't imagine how hard it must be for these individuals. We want them to be safe. We want them to be happy. But I can only imagine that Jazz Jennings became severely depressed and morbidly obese as a result of what this surgery did to Jazz's body. Now, I can't speak for a trans man, someone biologically female, but I can say that there are many posts online from trans individuals talking about how much they regret it. Detransitioners giving speeches and saying they were lied to, they were manipulated, they didn't understand, their life is ruined. So perhaps the reason why suicide rates are so high is because these people are suffering from an identity crisis and they need help. But instead, they're being affirmed. And then when life gets bad for a variety of reasons, they feel like there's no way out.
Yeah, trans people like Blair White and Buck Angel and detransitioners who profited off of the grift of saying, yes, I detransitioned and my life is so horrible now. I'll be in constant despair and this is a huge problem and they're teaching all of this stuff at schools that when people go to the schools, they're for summer reading, they're scribing fucking Playboy magazines for people to study and come back like fucking your book report will be due next week, and you'll present to the entire class how well you can suck my dick. Like, yeah, fucking trans people who milk their position to profit off of the bigotry that goes towards other trans people. Yeah, they're more likely to fucking kill themselves when they realize that right-wingers hate them, and now they've kind of thrown the only people on their side under the bus. They'll realize eventually that they're alone as fuck unless they want to join the porn industry. It's the only way we'll forgive Blair, because I'm pretty sure she does not like where she is right now. And by when I say we, I mean I'd throw that in a playlist. I mean, you would too, or at least, you know, like 2016 Blair White. Yeah. Ow. I really can't do that hand thing with while I'm leaning like this. Kind of hurts.
I don't have all the answers. I just hope that anybody who's experiencing this and suffering, you know, calls a hotline, finds a community, finds friends, and just works through it. There are many people who detransitioned who are living full lives. They may not be, they may have regrets, but they have found their voice and they have found their inner peace, and it is possible for everyone. The last thing I want to see is more people lose their lives, because every single life, every single one is unique and has that spark of the divine. This is why I'm not in favor of the death penalty. No matter how awful a person is, there's something that terrifies me about snuffing out the fire of life from an individual. Even when it comes to war or violence or just the most horrifying person imaginable. Within me, I do not have it to be the executioner. Other people may make decisions. I get it. Other people may say some people are so evil, you know, child predators, for instance, that they must receive the death penalty after what they do to these kids. And for me, I'm just like, it's scary to me. I understand why you feel that way, but if we have them locked in a box, they're not a threat. I cannot see snuffing out that fire of life. And I don't know, maybe that's just me. Maybe I shouldn't treat these people as special. They've forfeited their position by being monsters.
Spark of the divine. So you're a theocrat, not a libertarian. Let it be known that nobody's opinions are automatically fact just because you're expressing your opinion with an air of confidence. You're not a fucking libertarian. You're not a fucking libertarian. You don't give a shit what other people do in their own personal lives. You want to interfere with what they do in their own privacy because for some reason that affects you. It doesn't. If you didn't want to be blamed for shit like this, if you didn't want people looking at you like you're a transphobic piece of shit, maybe wait at least more than 12 fucking hours after the goddamn mass shooting. Jesus fucking Christ. You know this is why you suck at music, right? Art is about pushing boundaries. You cannot even accept the idea that women might want to do more than stay at home. The idea that people are attracted to different things that you're not very attracted to. The idea that people are smart enough to not believe in your fake-ass God and not let the rules of your fucking religious codex, the rantings and ravings of insane, opinionated dead men, rule their lives because they're not that pathetic. Your opinions are not fact just because you say fact in reality in every fucking sentence 10 times. I don't even care about your economic stances. You can't call yourself a libertarian and then say, oh, that's a little too queer for my liking. I'm gonna lie about you being a pedophile, pretend that all of 2022 did not happen, pretend that people are not gonna be able to just look up what dumbasses like me have been saying within this year, and then put it in the same video as their retort to me, based on the faith that other people that are watching me are never gonna look up they're never gonna watch these videos. They're gonna be too frustrated. They're gonna be too annoyed by differing opinions. You know, because these people that love free speech, that love Elon so much, that only seem to bring up free speech when it comes to them doing fucked up shit to people that are different from them in order to keep them from having anything that is unique that makes them stand out more than you.
And that is what truly bothers me.
You know what the problem is, though? It's definitely not me. I think it's everybody else.
To see this story about a state senator blaming everyone else, well, here's my view. I believe that, ma'am, your transgender son was suffering, and it is those you are angry with who are trying to save your child. But instead of being a parent and leading and protecting your child, you just said, do whatever you want. And this left your child suffering. And that even after you've affirmed them, and even after they found a community and a voice and prominence, they still were unhappy. Why? Why weren't they fulfilled? My fear is that many of these people come to regret transition.
That I'm about to be 34 and I have no family.
You are the same person as an SJW. You are a reverse conservative SJW. Except when you lie about people, you are saying things that could legally fuck them over and put innocent people in prison. You know that you cannot call them racist because you're supporting right-wingers. Therefore, you are supporting racist people. You know you can't call them sexist because you're supporting people who overturned Roe v. Wade. Because you pretend that abortion is murder when it's objectively not. It's just a clump of cells that a guy dumped his cum into somebody's vagina, and for like the first trimester, it's a fucking parasite. You see a trans person do anything, you assume that it immediately has to do with them being trans. It has nothing to do with whether or not they've been getting ostracized, harassed in real life, threatened, maybe in a way that would imply they might end up dying in a way that is even worse than just offing yourself. You know, because these death threats, people send violent, very graphic death threats, very brutal things, okay? Oh yeah, what about that guy that Bill O'Reilly got killed? Tiller the baby killer or whatever? There was nothing that Dr. Tiller could do to know that somebody was coming for him, to stop that from happening. It was simply Bill O'Reilly saying, this guy's a baby killer, this guy's a baby killer, this guy's... He's dead!
That's what stochastic terrorism really is. I really, and definitely keep this in mind if you're still subscribed to Shoe. This is the actual scary fucking part about stochastic terrorism, okay? That it puts a target on your back in a way that you don't know how to detect who's coming from where. You don't even have a clear indicator as to where the original death threats are coming from. From all angles, of all the forms of hate speech that are out there. Now, I know, Tim, you don't think that hate speech is a thing, okay? Unless it's, Biden saying, hey, these Republicans are losing their fucking minds. There's other kinds of hate speech in general, because that is not hate speech. Hate speech is very much a thing, okay? Stochastic terrorism is basically the mustard gas of hate speech. This video is mostly just Tim bitching about trans people and calling a grieving mother a murderer and child predator. So, as is most of Tim's content, I'm supposed to believe that a grieving mother who neither of us have met in our entire lives, after 365 days of watching Caesar's Legion IRL play dumb every time their rhetoric gets people murdered, innocent people, that despite a year's worth of observation indicating otherwise, that I'm supposed to believe this supposedly evil woman is such a sociopathic old bitch that upon learning of the death of her own flesh and blood, that her son, who's younger than a millennial, who she's nurtured and raised for 2.5 decades, took his own life after being subjected through months of being involuntarily subjected to a stupidly unnatural amount of ridicule and fear of being harmed for no reason other than living a non-traditional life of his own choosing. I'm supposed to believe that her first thought was, wow, I'm gonna get so much clout for this! My approval ratings are gonna skyrocket! Thanks for dying, sweetheart! This is definitely how mothers react to their dead children. They politicize it. But, if this were to ever happen vice versa from a Republican senator not accepting their gay kid, it's just the woke mind virus getting to them, right?